Good evening. My name is Daniel Clark. As you may be aware, Cadence Inc. is considering upgrading its system from Windows XP to the current incarnation of Windows 10. We've been dependent on Windows XP for quite some time, but now may be the time to modernize to a more recent operating system. In this presentation, I will outline the hardware requirements in order to upgrade to a Windows 10 system. But first, let's look at some reasons why we might want to upgrade to Windows 10. Faster startup. The fast startup option on Windows 10 drastically decreases the amount of time from power on to the operating system being up and running. You also have access to a large variety of apps in Windows 10. These apps can run in full screen, and there is a wide range of options that can be utilized to increase productivity. These apps can also run in their own sandbox, which can make them more secure than the older Windows apps. Windows 10 is also touchscreen friendly. If we were in the future wanting to upgrade certain departments to touchscreen monitors in order to facilitate a more productive and efficient environment, this operating system would help facilitate that. Management. You can use the same management tools to manage all devices running Windows 10, from desktops to laptops, tablets, even phones, as well as current management tools, would also continue to work with Windows 10. This can better increase our efficiency in being able to manage and maintain all of the systems within our company. It also has an updated browser. This browser is faster and has better features on it than traditional browsers, which would make efficiency in any type of web-based activities the company might need to perform. Windows 10 is also more secure and has a secure boot feature. Now, this feature will not let any program that is not signed by Windows to run during the boot up process. This would help prevent any boot viruses from affecting the system and keep us more secure from infiltration and attack. There's also the virtual desktop option. You can easily switch between multiple virtual desktops, which would facilitate productivity and efficiency, as each desktop could be set up for a specific task that the department may need to perform, and they could easily switch to another desktop without having to close and open programs. The biggest reason to upgrade to Windows 10 would be for the security updates, which are no longer available on the Windows XP system. This would bring us to the forefront to start receiving the latest security updates and to continue receiving those for some time. It also has a similar start menu that our employees will be familiar with using XP, but with a more updated layout in order to facilitate more productive use. Now let's take a look at our current hardware inventory listed by department. First, the administrative office. The administrative office has 32 employees. They utilize 25 Dell Precision Tower 5810 workstations. Each of these has 4 gigabytes of RAM and 5 terabytes of hard drive space. They also have 6 Toshiba Satellite A665 workstations, each with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes of hard drive space. Now the RAM is the virtual memory that works in conjunction with the processor in order to run the operating system and the programs themselves. Hard drive space is the amount of physical storage memory available for files and resources. The finance department, which employs 56 employees, utilizes 56 Dell Precision Tower 5810 workstations, each with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 5 terabytes of hard drive space. They also have 10 Lenovo Y40 laptops, each running 4 gigabytes of RAM and 5 terabytes of hard drive space. The sales department, with its 22 employees, each have a Toshiba Satellite A665 laptop workstation running 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes of hard drive memory. The main processing facility, which employs 260 employees, utilize 120 Dell OptiPlex 320 workstations, each running 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes of hard drive space. The shipping and receiving department, with its 42 employees, utilizes 120 Dell OptiPlex 775 workstations, each with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes of hard drive space. The R&D department, with its 5 employees, each have a Dell OptiPlex 755 workstation with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes of hard drive. The facilities and maintenance department has 26 employees, each with a Dell OptiPlex GX110 workstation with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes in hard drive space. The IT support department, with its 8 employees, each have a Toshiba Satellite A665 workstation with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 300 gigabytes of hard drive space. Our current server setup are as follows. 1 file server running Windows Server 2012 R2, 1 Exchange server running Windows Server 2012 R2, and 1 application server also running Windows Server 2012 R2. Now, Windows Server 2012 R2 would also be able to better communicate with the Windows 10 operating system, as they are similar in design. Now that we've looked at the current inventory of hardware for each of our departments, let's take a look at the hardware requirements for Windows 10. As you can see, they're not that much. All it requires is one processor of 1 gigahertz or faster, 1 gigabyte of RAM for a 32-bit operating system, or 2 gigabytes of RAM for a 64-bit operating system, and only 16 gigabytes of free disk space. As you can see, our current hardware meets or exceeds the requirements for Windows 10. All current hardware in all departments meet the necessary requirements for an upgrade. There would be no additional hardware upgrades needed and no additional cost in hardware upgrades. The only cost would come in the software. Now, as we miss the update Windows, we would need to buy licenses and install Windows 10 fresh. Here are two estimations of possible licensing that we could consider. The first is a volume license for all 300 computers that provides an insurance key only for $38,400 estimated. The second option, the volume license for all 300 computers, that we would get the key as well as the option to upgrade to the next incarnation of Windows after Windows 10. This would cost an estimate of $95,100. As you can see, there is no necessary hardware upgrades needed on our system, which would make this upgrade a lot easier because no physical hardware upgrades would have to be dealt with. The rollout of the operating system would simply need to be done on the software level. I believe these values are well warranted in order to bring us into the modern age and into a safe, secure, and more productive environment. The more productive our company is, the faster we could meet and pay off this investment. This concludes the presentation.